I want to hear just a quick reaction in the moment. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs midways for the Flash go.
Yeah, more down.
All right, so
I'm like here.
You're there. Okay, so for those of you who are listening on SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and iTunes, by the way, did you notice there was a couple comments in the comment section of the last podcast?
I did.
What did they say?
Where's the podcast? I want to listen to it, but it's taken a while to come out.
We used to post the audio versions of our podcast upwards of a week after release because I thought, hey, go watch it on YouTube. It'll get there eventually, thinking that that would help. And then years went by and I never thought about it again. I saw those comments. We're changing it. Once the podcast gets released, we're putting it on the audio platform so you can listen to it on your drive to work, damn it. Ryan, go. Flash. Thumbs up, thumbs down, halfway. What are you feeling?
I'm going to go somewhere near where Jeff did. About I feel like I'm a gladiator right now. By the way, I'm about to execute somebody. Halfway, a little bit down maybe. Maybe slightly higher than Jeff, but still halfway. I'm very meh on this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to be coming at it closer to where Jeff is. I'm past the halfway going towards the down, but we'll get into that. I want to show you guys something for those of you who watch our trending and hot 10 videos every week and stay to the end of the videos. You're going to know that this happened, but these guys haven't seen the outro. So this was my experience going to see The Flash. Let's just watch this because I recorded this in the moment and it accurately describes it better than what I can do rehashing it on the mic. Said, thanks for watching the video. I am off to watch this movie. I don't feel good about it, but I am excited to see Michael Keaton. We have other videos for you to check out. Enjoy them. Every Wednesday, we're on the best new app to buy and sell collectibles. That's Whatnot. You're gonna wanna be there this Wednesday. Got some choice books. Wish me luck. Have a great weekend. Bye. My dumbass making this outro video walked into the wrong theater. It's supposed to go into number 13, not number 9, and I walked into the ending of the movie. It's Ezra's fault. It's already starting out bad. So that's real. This is gonna be filled with spoilers, by the way, just so you know. We have to. I want to talk about spoilers today, so you've been warned. But the ending of the movie, which was like some of the best parts of the movie, were the cameos and the reveals. And I walk in, and I literally am hit with George Clooney, you know? And I'm watching, I'm like, wow, oh, George Clooney's in this? This is gonna be a great movie. Wait a minute, why has Ezra's tooth been knocked out? I don't really get that. Oh, and the credits? Oh God, I'm in the wrong theater. Hot damn.
I mean, you saw a couple really good parts right from the start, and that was probably maybe a good way to go into it because the parts I saw in the beginning of this movie and like were not good. I didn't right from the start. This movie to me lacked immediately.
Did you see Jem Mint's review? He specifically went on the mic first to talk about the intro scene, which is a rehash of the Quicksilver scene that's legendary in superhero filmmaking. You know, we got an Ezra Miller B-rated version at best.
100%.
They called it the baby shower scene, and
that's kind of funny.
it's like straight out of the 90s. I did not like it. It's an old-fashioned superhero sequence that I think did not work in any way, and it definitely did not help that all those babies looked like that dancing baby from the 90s, like the terrible CGI all throughout this movie, by the way, but especially on those weird little rubber doll-looking baby kids.
Like
did not
Cupid
care
dolls.
for that sequence at all. And the second they went for the window and the window broke and you see the nurse in there and all the babies flying out the window, I'm like, is this going to be a bad movie? I was like very uncomfortable in the beginning because I had high hopes. We heard lots of really, really, really good press and reviews for this movie going in. Like, it's amazing. It's the best superhero movie since Endgame. All these crazy, super high reviews. Stephen King came out of nowhere and said this is like the best superhero movie he's ever seen, and he doesn't even like superhero movies. I love Stephen King, so I maybe put a little too much stock into his take. Not a fan, but especially not a fan of the intro.
Now, I chatted last week with Jem Mint about this movie and how I was not feeling the hype, mostly because of the Ezra effect, the controversies, the legal problems, you know? And going into it, I saw it for Michael Keaton, for Supergirl, for Val Zod, and hoping that there'd be some dope cameos, which there were. And I will give the movie props for that. But the big thing that I was worried about was them rehashing stuff that we've already seen on the screen before and them doing a poor job of it. CW Flash, I felt like the writing team attached to this DC movie had to have gone into the writing room and said, hey, did anyone see the multiple seasons where Barry had to go back in time to try to save his mother but failed to do it, and there's some reason why he's going to try to do it, and it's going to mess stuff up, so he's got to actually like come to terms with it. Did any of you guys see this see the show? And what they probably said was, no, I haven't seen it, and I don't want to watch it because I don't want it to affect my writing. And then they did my worst fear. They did the CW narrative, but worse, with Ezra.
Even looking at Marvel, though, if you look at WandaVision and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it's very clear that the movie people and the TV people were not talking to each other. And there's some element of that here on display as well. Although I can kind of see their perspective, and you look at how many thousands or hundreds of thousands, best case scenario, watched the CW Flash versus how many millions of people are going to go see the Flash feature film. And I don't think you can worry too much about retreading same ground. But if you're going to do it, you should probably do it a little better. All the scenes, especially the flashbacks, the early scenes with him and his mom in their kitchen, did not work for me. The only part of the movie I liked with Flash's mom was at the very end in the grocery store when he had to like take the tomatoes out of her cart and like basically send her off to die. I thought that was very dark and sad and fitting.
I wanted to hear both of your guys' thoughts about the movie, but before we do that, we have some updates as of the day of this filming about how it's going. Because as you mentioned, there was a lot of people giving this crazy reviews. Best superhero movie of all time is what was coming out of some reviewers' mouths. And clearly, I'm thinking what happened was this was so expensive, over $300 million to make this movie. I also read that the last opportunity they had to stop this ship from sailing was post when Ezra like choked a fan on camera and the controversy started. You can look that up. It's everywhere. But there was a moment where they could have said, hold up, pull the plug, maybe we can go in a different direction. They decided not to, and they dumped so much money into it that you have to assume that they were forced to go this route, and we're probably checking news every day. We hope Ezra didn't do anything else. We hope Ezra didn't do anything else. Well, now the movie's out. It's been a full weekend, a holiday weekend, by the way. This is what Geek League of America had to say. Breaking. Okay, here's some staggering numbers for The Flash post-mortem. The 3-day weekend gross came in lower than the projections, finishing with a $55.1 million and a $64 million for the 4-day holiday weekend. Worldwide, it stands at a catastrophic $139 million and is projected to finish under $350 million worldwide when it's all said and done, which is less than Black Adam, Eternals, Black Widow, and Shazam. Oof.
Which are all better movies, in my opinion,
Same.
than that.
I watched Shazam yesterday again because my partner hadn't seen it, and I saw it once, and I was half watching it because I was busy bagging and boarding. And I loved the film. It was dark. It was gritty. It was entertaining. I liked the villains. I liked the direction. I loved the family focus of Shazam and him learning, who he is, what kind of superhero he's going to be and lead. And to think like, oh, we're not getting any more of that. Well, Flash is going to transition us from what was at least decent to something new, James Gunn.
That may be my biggest complaint about the whole damn movie. There was no real setup for the future, I don't think. They set up George Clooney popping out of that car at the end, and now you're like, oh, he didn't really fix anything. He's in another alternate universe. Things are still screwed up. What now? We're not going to really get any payoff on any of that, I don't think. And there really just wasn't any setup at all for what comes next. It wasn't really like a reboot at all.
No, there was a setup. It was the post-credit scene.
Which I didn't stay for, by the way. That's my fault.
What was the post-credit scene? Because I didn't stay for it either.
What?
Hey, spoilers.
I went at 11 p.m., by the way. I was like passing out. It was 2 a.m. when the movie was over.
The post-credit scene, first off, was a little bit of a letdown. But what it was a lead-in to the next death of a character in this DCEU universe. It was him, and it was Jason Momoa's Aquaman. Oh. It's leading us, this garbage trash, we're following this trash truck to the next stop, which is Aquaman. So that's the next dumpster fire that we get to go to. And when that's done, hopefully we can get a reset, all right, with James Gunn, all right, firing off some winning bullets because this was not good. The end was salvageable. I'll give you that. The cameos were fun, okay? The Flash was better without the Flash, okay? I enjoyed more scenes when the Flash was not in it than I did with the Flash in it. So you give me more Keaton, I'll take it. You give me Supergirl, I'll take it. All right, you give me any of the cameos, gladly. Hell, you give me any of the supporting actors without the Flash involved, I'll take it.
What were some of the reasons why you didn't like Flash? Because the first thing I thought of was that he's this like weird, quirky, almost Quicksilver version of Barry Allen, who was at least 90% like less intelligent than Barry Allen should be.
Well, because, yeah, exactly. He's a bumbling idiot, okay? At some point, I don't care how much of a bumbling idiot you are as a person. When you have responsibilities of powers, at some point, if you're that much of an idiot, you would probably off yourself, okay? So they may, like, you would just do something stupid with your powers and end up killing yourself.
Oh, accidentally.
Accidentally.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you're going to take your life. I'm just saying, right? So
He would have gotten past Darkseid, for example.
yeah, he's experienced enough. There should have been some more maturity and capability in this character. So in the beginning, from the start, I was like, oh my God, this is what we're starting with? Okay, granted, there was a little bit of growth with this character at the end. A little bit of growth. Not enough, because the beginning was really hard to watch. That whole baby situation was just ridiculous. This building's literally collapsing. He's having a stupid conversation with Batman on the phone, or Alfred, and it's just like, I was like, this is dumb. This is dumb. This is not a hero. This is not what I'm coming to watch. Okay, I had to watch other heroes and enjoy them because the main character hero wasn't a good hero. He was not. He was probably the worst part of this film was the Flash and the CGI.
I think the movie was slow for me. I don't know about you guys, but I remember looking at my watch a couple times going, damn, we're like 40 minutes into this and he's just meeting Michael Keaton. And the main like plot of the story is to go and try to find Superman, which like spoiler, he ain't there. It's Supergirl, which is cool. And then to be introduced to a villain we've already seen in this epic, like they could have picked any villain from the DCU that I would have rather seen on screen poorly than Val Zod again.
That's one of the things I did like about this movie was how many callbacks, and it brought the whole thing full circle from the original Zack Snyder DC Man of Steel, which I thought that was cool. I did appreciate seeing Zod again, as brief as it was. I thought the movie could have used an actual villain at some point. I didn't really appreciate how quick they set up and got through the whole dark Flash, the dark Barry Allen stuff at the very end, crammed into like 1 5-minute sequence in the Speed Force. I thought that could have used a little more development, but I don't know. I didn't hate the scenes with two different Barry Allens talking to each other. I thought there was some comedy in there, and I thought Ezra did an okay job playing off both versions of the character, even though the CGI looked absolutely dog crap when both of them were on the same screen together. You could tell that obviously there's some kind of weird computer-generated stuff happening here, which upset me a little bit because on shows like Fargo, for example, when you had two different Ewan McGregors, he was playing twin brothers in season 3 of that show on a TV budget, and it looked so much better than two different Ezra Millers side by side. And I think the CGI overall was the biggest drawback of the whole movie.
I found it interesting that one of the things that you liked was the callbacks, but also one of the things that you didn't care for was about how it didn't really like complete the past narratives enough to feel like we're transitioning into something new. Outside of a post-credit scene they could have filmed afterwards to try to just tie it together. So it's like you're kind of grasping a little bit for the things that was working, but they didn't go all in enough. What I would have much rather seen is not an origin story that we've already seen like on the CW in the last 5 years, but have Flash just go up against Captain Cold. We don't need a whole backstory on Captain Cold, you know? It could be in the movie for a brief amount of time, but just hit us with some stuff, you know?
Yeah, it would have been cool to get one of Flash's other villains in here, or an actual villain at all, really, because all we got was a retread of Zod. I did like the origin story, though, how they didn't really show us how he got his powers until he had to bring this alternate Barry Allen into the lab and set him up in front of the chemicals and the lightning, and we got, like, a retread of how he got his powers without having to see the original Barry Allen actually going through that, so it was like a way for them to cheat and put an origin story into this movie without actually doing it. I thought that was a clever way to get around the typical, here's how they got their powers sequence in every superhero movie that we don't need to see anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that was creative. I just, like, you know, I agree with you on that. And I do agree with Tom, too, just seeing something different. Captain Cold would have been fine. Anybody else, like, villain-wise, I did feel a little cheated of seeing anything new. So we did get to see a lot of what we've seen in the past, whether it's from TV or whatever. So I think it would have been a great opportunity to somehow raise this character with adding something to the story instead of, like you said, regurgitating something that we've seen. I do feel like we didn't get the whole getting the powers back, like in the traditional way where there's like a flashback. It was, like more of a creative way. But then the original, the Flash, one of the main Flash, original Flash, whichever one you want to call, had to get his powers back too. And I thought that was a little bit of a hokey thing too, being strapped to a chair, electricity.
That actually directly happened in Flashpoint, the Jeff Johns book. There were a few things they took from Flashpoint, but that is definitely something that they 100% pulled from there, where it was on the roof of Arkham Asylum with Thomas Wayne Batman in the Flashpoint storyline. So it was a little different, but I did appreciate that they pulled something directly from that comic.
Yeah, and again, for me, I don't care if it's in the comic book. We're watching a movie, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. It has to work. So going from showing him getting his powers but losing him and then having to get him back, I felt like I'm watching Back to the Future here, and I'm watching, freaking what's-his-face trying to put 1.2 gigawatts of electricity.
Eric Stoltz.
With Eric Stoltz with Barry Allen here to get his powers back, like he's trying to hit the clock tower. Okay, so he can go back to the future. And just, I don't know, man. Just a lot fell flat. I felt like they overthought it at times, then they didn't and then they underthought it, and it was a mess. It was just a true mess because none of it felt like it congealed.
Well, the aspect of kind of retreading a origin where you lose powers and you get the powers back, I mean, isn't it fitting that I just brought up Shazam? That was a huge part of that movie, is each of the individual family members lost their powers that they were just granted in the prior movie and had to get them back. They had to go through this whole cycle. Like, DC's reusing narratives that they've just done that didn't work. But because it didn't build up in the way that I think we all were hoping for, I think that that's what caused the massive cameos at the end, which is really the climax of the movie, to not hit as hard as I think the studio producers were really banking on. And we got Christopher Reeves on the screen. And when I saw it, I felt good, but I also didn't feel great. This wasn't a Tony Stark, snapping the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet and fixing everything moment for me. It was kind of it kind of feels weird. And then you see Golden Age Flash, which was clearly the CW Flash likeness. That guy wasn't in the movie. So okay, well that's cool. I like seeing Jay Garrick, Oh, okay. Nicolas Cage Superman. That was dope as hell. I would watch that movie.
That's where the movie lost me. I didn't like the cameos, and I know I'm in the minority on this. I'm glad he got to fulfill his dream of being Superman, and it's something he's wanted to do forever. But I think when you consider normal people who aren't us, who don't know that backstory, that he had the screen test and all those photos that we've all seen of Nick Cage in the Superman outfit, most people are going to look at that and go what the hell? I don't remember Superman with Nick Cage. What movie is that from? And they're just going to get confused, and it came out of nowhere. And I would much rather have seen Grant Gustin from the Flash TV show, the CW universe, or maybe even spent a little more time on the Adam West Batman, which was literally blink and you miss it right on the edge of the screen. That whole sequence felt like there was too much shoved in there, and it went way too quick, and it did not hit as hard as it should have.
Yeah, I mean, look, those same people who don't know also aren't going to know the Jay Garrick Flash when they see him running, right? Those are the same people, so they're not going to catch all of that on everything. But I get what you're saying. I mean, I enjoyed the hell of it. I think enough people will enjoy it to appreciate it. But yeah, I felt the Adam West thing I thought was a voiceover. I didn't even see him.
It was
that's
so
how
fast.
Quick it was, and that one should have deserved far more respect.
I think clearly the studio was banking on that cameo sequence to be a Spider-Man Far From Home level impact, which it clearly wasn't, and it's largely because of the kind of poor setup along the way to get there. And I just don't think that it's as impactful now seeing it, because it's been done already. So if it hasn't been done in an elevated way, then it's going to be a miss. And clearly they stuck through this, this entire movie in production for years that was delayed since 2018 for a reason. I think they were thinking, we put Christopher Reeves on the screen. We win. We have the biggest movie ever. And then it would also make sense why we'd see so much hype around the press as we approach it. You can't trust the studios, damn it. Hit the like. Slap the subscribe button. What do you think about The Flash? Let us know in the comment section below. My favorite part was Nick Cage Superman. I'll say it.
Supergirl for me. I did not expect to love her as much as I did, but I think she stole the show for me.